Hey folks, DJ Eshelman here, and I've got an echo because I was trying to do something that wasn't going to work anyway. There it goes. Sorry about that. Hey, welcome to day 4. I've been, uh, yeah, it's been an interesting afternoon and an interesting evening. I actually didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so if I seem a little off, that's a big, big reason. As you may or may not know, I have been fasting for several days now, 4 days. Actually, it'll be, yeah, coming up on that end of the day here. 6 o'clock is when I started the fast on Sunday. And so, yeah, water only for all this time. And it's been the usual challenge, finding it about the same as usually. I think I might say that it's actually been a little easier than in years past of doing this. And so, That's that's been good, but, forgive me, I'm trying to switch over to my other camera so you can see my little kitties sleeping, they're so cute. I was hoping to be able to do that, but I might have to, try some alternative method here. See if I can get this to work. But yeah, we'll see if I can get that going in the background. But anyway, if you're joining me here today, welcome and glad to be with you. And yeah, hoping to see some great things. Actually, I'm hoping we're actually live. Facebook Live was having some issues previously, so I'm or earlier today. So I'm actually going to be taking a moment here and checking this. So give me just a moment as I vamp and see if that's going to be a thing. Okay. Looks like yes, that is going. Awesome. So if you're here with me, feel free to leave a comment. I should be seeing it pop up here. But today I wanted to talk a little bit more about um, this 11 talents concept. And here I was hoping to be all fancy and have this up on the screen, and I got distracted with Kitty Cam. I want to show you Kitty Cam. Um, in fact, I think I might just have a way to do that. Uh, they're so cute. I can't stand it. So let me see if that's something I can do here. Um, Give me a moment. Hope I don't crash things or something. It's been one of those kind of afternoons, unfortunately. But anyway, let me pull up here. I am just going to cheat, and since I didn't have anything formal written up, let's see. Give me. Should not have gotten so distracted, but nonetheless, let's pop over to Bible Gateway. Hopefully, they don't mind me using their site here, but we're gonna just do it anyway. Share. Oops. There we go. Matthew 25. And let's see, did I choose the right version for the demonstration I wanted to give here? I Yes. So this is actually from the Tree of Life version, which is a translation that I have been enjoying quite a bit lately. And so, in some context here, let me see if I can get this to restart without killing my stream here. I apologize. Got something going on another screen here, so if I seem distracted, it's because I am. But anyway, the parable of the talents kind of starts with the parable of the 10 virgins, actually. And this is the kind of an important context from a spiritual standpoint. Um, if you were on previous streams, you know that I was talking about Ecclesiastes, where it says that you should be, investing in 7, even 8 ventures, for you do not know what tomorrow will hold. And there's an interesting tie-in, I think, with this. So he's talking about the parable of the 10 virgins. It's yeah. So hopefully people are familiar with this. I'm not just preaching for the first time here, but there's a level of preparedness here that is spoken about, and so I think there's something in context here that stood out to me as far as what speaks into my life as a um, well, just not just head of the household kind of thing, but also somebody who is wanting to be more prepared and weather the storms of life. And so that's a big part of it. But also, I will say that a big part of me is very much kind of that multipreneur, uh, kind of that person who just always wants his hands in multiple different things at a given time. It's just kind of the way I work. And my wife is calling. I don't. So, hi, wife. Let me explain that I am live right now. Live right now. Talk later. Sorry about that. If you are dying, call me back. Literal conversation. Anyway, so the parable of the talents. Pardon me. To review, for it is like, in other words, we're talking overall about the kingdom of heaven here. And so we've given a first example here in the parable of the virgins, where they took their lamps out and went to meet the bridegroom, and 5 were foolish, 5 were wise. Foolish ones took their lamp, and the other ones just, I don't know, thought maybe they'd be provided for or something. It's interesting that there was not a level of preparedness here, because I mean, bridegroom. Well, yeah, do you know when they're coming? Probably not. Uh, so anyway, getting into the parable of talents. So for it is like a man about to go on a journey, called on his servants and handed over his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents. Talents are a measure of, uh, let's see if I can, yeah, there you go. About 16 years' wages. It's 1 talent. And so this is not a small sum of money that we're talking about here. Something that'd probably be inconceivable. For just a moment, think of what a worker's wages would be over 16 years. So in the US, I mean, we can pretty much say that if I can't remember what the average um, salary of a worker, which is what this would be, would be. I think I want to say it's 45,000 per year. And so if we did that by 16, so that is $72,000. So multiply that by 5. So this servant has been put in charge of almost, $4 million basically. Can you imagine that? Imagine the responsibility of taking $4 million. That's pretty intense. The other, he was given 2, which would be about, what would that be? About $1.4 million today. And another one, he was given 1. Now, here is a absolute key verse here that I want to highlight here. Each according to his ability. This is, oh, come on. Sorry. This is what it's called being prepared, folks. But in any regards, um, each according to his ability, meaning the master knew that each of these servants was prepared to take on certain challenges and prepared to take on the kind of things that are going on here. Behind the scenes here, there's some things that I can kind of look at here and say that I'm guessing that the person with the 5 talents is someone who is very likely already ready for this. You know, they've been doing money management. They've been running. They could even be the steward of the entire household, and that's something I'll be talking about very shortly. But honestly, that this is something that points to someone who is experienced and has would be a good person to leave an investment with the expectation. And this is kind of the funny thing about this is that there's an unset expectation here that if you're distributing this money to your servants, the idea here is that you want to see a return on your investment. You want to see them continue what you've already done and continue using all of these talents or 6,000 denarii or whatever you want to say to actually further what you've been doing. And so you are basically saying to these servants, you are now me, and I want you to actually go out and do what I would do. So this is a big key here. So the one and this is kind of cool. So immediately, in other words, there was no hesitation here. So this is kind of cool. So this is a good key here. And this is something. Is it going to do this every time? Whatever. So immediately, the one who had received the 5 talents and went and traded them, he went and traded with them. Sorry, and gained 5 more. In other words, he engaged in commerce. There's a weird kind of back and forth uh, in the church, I think, about commerce. You know, that some think that it's really bad because they've been misled into thinking that money is the root of all evil. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil. Using it as a tool, using it as something that is actually going to, you know, further what the master wants to do is a very different story. And that's what we're talking about here is furthering what you've been given to further the kingdom. You know, not just it's not just about you. I'm actually gonna switch up the screens here so you can hear me on this and see me on this and understand where my heart is on this is that I'm not really interested in seeing people get rich per se. I'm really interested in people being able to be in such abundance that they are able to give recklessly. That they can, if there's some people that talk about getting to the point of being able to live off of 10% and give the rest away. I think that is just fantastic, and that would be a great way to live, and that's something that I kind of I may not have those numbers exact, but that's something I aspire to, to being able to have that kind of freedom. And oh, pardon me. Let's just say that I foresee a world where this is going to be very, very necessary. It is going to be very necessary for a lot of people to be prepared to be able to give. Now, I also believe that there's a lot that will be, taken, but being able to be prepared to weather these storms is something that I think is going to be really crucial. And there's going to be a lot of, I mean, there's already a lot of need out there. Don't get me wrong. Um, but even we get kind of dramatic about, 2020 and things about that. You know, reality is, folks, this could be a lot worse. It really could. Could be better, sure. We had it pretty good, but this could be a lot worse. As far as especially in the developed countries of the world, the U.S., uh, UK, and all these nations that are very well established and well 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 put together, I guess you could say financially. It's a lot easier to notice what we don't have than what we do have. And I think that's a factor in this. But what I'm trying to say here is that we we're we're expected to do more with what we have been given as far as our talents and abilities and our passions than just go to a day job and do that. There's an expectation that we're going to do more with that, and that's what we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But I wanted to get a little deeper into the heart of this, and so let's look at something here. Um, this is another key verse here, and it said, "In the same way, the one with two gained two more." Did you catch that? In the same way. In other words, the person with entrusted with two talents felt that the best way to do this or to go about this was to look at what um, the five talent person was doing and emulate that. And I think, pardon me, I think that's another key to see here. That there's a there's probably a mentoring relationship that's implied here. There's a a notion that the person with two talents would have been looking for that leadership, and that is something again I'm going to want to be talking about very soon in terms of what that looks like from a practical standpoint in today's world, because I think there are things we can glean from that in today's world. And I think most people know the a big part of the story here um, is the one who received one talent, went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. That's one of those. That's a bad thing. We know already in this story that that's a bad thing. That all he did was go out and dig a hole and hide, you know, the equivalent of $72,000. For most of us, that would pay for a few houses, and homeboy just goes and just dumps it in the ground. Doesn't do anything with it. Just wants to. Is so fearful, hides it away. And this is a mentality that I see a lot of people in the world having, and it disturbs me. It disturbs me a lot, um, because honestly, as far as it goes, this points to a scarcity mindset of, if I, it's a lot of fear, it's a lot of things, but the heart of the one talent servant is um, revealed later in the story. Um, so, and we see that the master comes back and wants to settle the accounts. In other words, again, there was an expectation here to say, okay, how do we do here? Um, and so master, you handed me five talents. Look, I gained five more. Master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. Um, You were faithful with much, or if, yeah, you were faithful with a little, so I'll put you in charge of much, um, which is a big key here. So I'm going to mark this up a little bit, and I'll forgive the colors here, but um, this is kind of funny when you think about it. Can you think about being faithful with a little? The guy hands him $3.6 million and said, "You were faithful with a little." If there's anything that points to a spirit of abundance, it's this, that that's the way the master's thinking. Oh yeah, $3.6 million. Yeah, you were faithful with a little. I'm going to put you in charge of a lot more. You feeling that? I hope you're feeling that, because that's really intense when you think about it. Yeah, especially, it doesn't matter what 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 era you're in. That's something that's pretty intense. So that's the way that feels. So the one who's received 2 talents also, again, I mean, a bit of an emulation here. Um, and pretty much the speech is almost exactly the same. In fact, I think in this translation it literally is the same. Well done, good faithful servant. You were faithful with little, so I put you in charge of much. Yes. So same thing. Um, but you were faithful with a little. Here's something here. The master doesn't seem to make any distinction between the person that had 2 talents and 5 talents. Wow, that's just going to irritate me. That's something that you should understand, that the master's joy is equal between these two. He already knows that the level of preparedness of the 5 talent servant is more than the person with 2 talents. But the person with 2 talents, just because he wasn't entrusted with more right now, in other words, he's now like the 5 talent servant. He has proven himself. He is now someone who is, um, and I don't want to say worthy. That's not the word I'm looking for here, because I think when you're talking about the master's joy, we're not talking about worthiness. We're talking about embracing, that spirit of, and it's not even happiness. Joy is not really happiness. Joy is just a spirit of abundance, and so that is what he's called to embrace here, and both of them are. And of course, we know that the person with the 1 talent said, you know, I knew, I knew that you were a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, gathering where you scattered no seed. Hear this, and I'm going to get what's going to sound political, but it's not. But hear it, that what we're seeing here is someone that is being obstinate to an obviously powerful and wealthy person that basically owns him. This is why I call the 1 talent servant actually a 1 talent slave, because there's a mentality here that's just, there's a hatred here. There's a loathing. But the interesting thing is how much I hear this kind of language today. I hear this a lot. That assuming that anyone who has achieved anything or has money has quite obviously stolen it. Quite obviously, you know, sowing where they did not plant. There's no way, right? There's just no way they could be wealthy and I'm not, because everything should be equal, right? That's not what the Bible says here. This is the distinction that's made here. So I want you to see that the one talent servant was afraid and hid the talent in the ground. See, you have what is yours. Spit it right back in his face. Say, you can't blame me. I did what I was told. I went to work as I was told. I did my duty. Sorry if this resonates harshly, but it's meant to. It's meant to. Because I firmly believe that if you have a talent and a calling that you are not using, then you are just checking the box, hoping to be done, you know? And then sometimes, in some ways, what I see a lot of is people getting very vindictive about it and blaming others for that and assuming that the only way to get ahead is to scheme and do bad things when it's just so obviously not true. Now there are a few bad apples that have done that, sure, but the by and large truth is that that is just not who we should be, you know, and this is pretty clear. And the actually this response here is it's hard to believe that Jesus is saying this, frankly. Um, so he said, you know, you should have at least taken it to the bank, and at least then I'd have interest. The implication has been he's been gone for quite some time, you know, so I don't know what the journey was. What didn't I say? It just says a long time. So imagine this person's disappointment. Now, I also want you to hear that if the five talent person had just buried it in the ground, the response would have been the same. It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have been worse necessarily. I suppose it could have been, but the implication here is, you know, that there's a pattern that's set up here in in yeah, abilities, you know, and so there would have been a lot more disappointment. But if he was obstinate about it like this, then the response would have been the same. So in other words, the the response of the master is the same, not because of the result, not because of the result, because of the orientation of the person, because of who they are, and you know, and their mentality about money. Yeah, that kind of hurts, doesn't it? And I know we've all been guilty of this, and I've been guilty of this. You know, what this is right here, this sowing where or yeah, reaping where you didn't sow, that is easy to fall into, you know, of just making that assumption. And what this really amounts to sometimes is jealousy. You know, if you recall, that's one of the 10 commandments. You know, like, don't be jealous. That's it right there. It's like that's where we're staring right at jealousy right here. That's the ugly part about this is that, you know, that attitude towards someone who has, yeah, try this one more time. No, that was a kitty cam moment if I ever saw one. So I was trying to give us a reprieve, but alas, not today, or not at least the moment. I haven't given up because this is a level of adorable that I just can't help but share with you. So I'm still searching for another way as I'm doing this to soften the blow here. But what Jesus says here next is take that talent away from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. If you're good at math, you're seeing that the 5 talent servant became the 10 talent steward, who now becomes the 11 talent steward. Or I might even say I've thought about calling this like a servepreneur. It's somebody who is actually, you know, actively engaged in service, but also managing. So steward seems to be the best description here. So the the key verse here, and this is often misquoted. Oh my gosh, so often misquoted. Um, but this is some of the um, most wild scripture and the most wild thing that Jesus could have said. For the one who has, more shall be given, and he shall have an abundance. But from the one who does not have, even what he does have shall be taken away. It it's one of those mind blowing scriptures that you're like, did he seriously just say that? I mean, gosh, this is Jesus here. This is harsh. In fact, the other servant is thrown out into the outer darkness, where there be weeping and gnashing of teeth. But let's get into this a little bit. The one who has more will be given. And this is where there's that assumption that what this means is that they will take things from those that are less wealthy. Wealth has nothing to do with it. It's more of utilization. It's more of attitude about it. And oh my gosh, I am sorry. I have to take a picture of this because my cat is sticking out his tongue. I promise I will share this as soon as possible. Because I it has been a day with these two. I this is my second live broadcast of the day from the studio here, and I got really angry with them because in the middle of one of my broadcasts today, um, they went after a bug that had gone onto the drapes, and so yeah, now there's yeah, the drapes are kind of trash now. It didn't apparently didn't take much to do, which is a little disappointing, but yeah. So I was a little angry with them, but if I can post this, actually, I'm going to see if this uploads here real quick, and I'll put it up on the screen as soon as this does. I'm actually doing this in the background, but because I'm really hoping to get a yes. So oh my goodness, this boy, I swear. Oh, that was the best. Sorry, I needed a moment to laugh. I'm sorry, but sorry. So I couldn't get kitty cam the way I wanted it, but I guess that kind of works. Um, yeah. Anyway, so the impact of this is very poignant. It is not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to just dismiss as, oh well, that's just an example that of just one thing. And the thing I've noticed about parables over the years is that there is a lot of depth and a lot of life application that goes beyond just the thing. And that's the intention. That's why Jesus taught in parables, is that he wanted to teach us about ourselves. The fact that he uses the language that he does here I don't think is accidental by any stretch. Um, it not by a long shot. I think there's very much intention here. That there is modern implications as far as the word talents. It's a very interesting choice of words. Very, very um, kind of like a why kind of moment. You know, like why did you choose that word? That's kind of weird. Why choose that to represent 16 years of wages? It's a little weird. But to us, talents mean the things we're like innate abilities and things that we're uh, given abilities to do. Like I've demonstrated a few of these over the years. Music was a passion of mine uh, very early on, and that was actually what I thought was going to be my main direction at one point, but is not. And I'm actually the truth is I'm glad, and this is something that I bring up in a group I lead for Dan Miller's audience called Thriving Artists. That it's okay. It's okay to produce art just for yourself or things that are just um, not necessarily shared for profit or for sale. So like me being in a worship team, for example, is a good use of those talents. But the point here is that we're not supposed to just use one talent. That's not what we're called to do here. And we're called to pull multiple things in. So what I want to kind of lay out here is a progression. So we have the one talent slave. One talent slave has a mentality that, you know, they are basically being used. They are a slave. That they are someone who is um, toiling unnecessarily. That they're passed over for everything good. That life happens to them and not for them. Does any of this sound familiar? Does any of this sound like this might be you now or you previously? The one talent slave is absolutely who we don't want to be, but it's who I think a lot of people actually are, and it pains me. It really does. That's why I'm doing this. Is solely centered around this. Is that that pain of seeing this and knowing there's a different better ways is important to me. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I am a five talent steward. I don't think that's true. But I am going to say that I am a two talent servant, and that's where I'm at. And I want to be where that five talent servant was. I want to get to that point of saying 10 talent, and then get to the point of being also a manager of other people's things. That 11 talent servant. That's my goal, is to get to that point. But right now, I am at that two talent. Actually, the truth is, you could actually say that, as far as if you were take the word talents literally, as far as what I have applied to a diversity of ventures, then I guess I have to be a little more fair on myself and say that I am a five talent servant as far as that goes. And I'm in the process. And so maybe I need to amend that. Maybe I need to say that that's actually, where I'm at. But um so the reality is that a lot of us out there want to be, kind of jump the line, and we get excited. But I didn't start out the, five talent steward. I just didn't. It was much more of the um, uh, early progression. So I did one thing at a time, and I had one job, and that was my life for a lot of years, many, 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 many years actually. Even though I've always had a kind of a bent towards being an entrepreneur, that sort of thing, and doing multiple things with the works of my hands, that sort of thing. There's a great book. It's a classic. It should be available, I think, for free in a lot of places. It's called Acres of Diamonds. This is something that multiple sources have recommended to me, but the basic concept here is that uh, that well, yeah, I won't get into that. I'm looking at the time here and realizing that I'm going to need to go here soon. But um, the basic premise here is that if you use the talents and abilities that are right there, you don't have to worry about going and finding new ones. You don't have to go chasing after the latest and greatest thing. Um, I'm I call myself a squirrelpreneur sometimes because I have a history of spending a lot of money on a lot of different things that I'm sure are just going to be the one thing. And I get hard on myself, but I also realize that there's a lot of people out there that have done a lot worse. My goodness. Some of the people I've talked to over the years that have had just a desire to invest wisely, but have ended up chasing after the dollar instead. They're chasing after opportunity. Um, Actually, I have in my life actually listened to some of these people and gotten, stock tips, things like that that were just sure to go and have lost money doing that. There's a lot of things like that where, as far as like doing things like day trading is, not my skill set and not something I should be doing ever. I've dabbled a little bit in that and found out the hard way that that's just not for me. It's better for me to just let that go and let other people do that. But that is one of the principles that we're going to be talking about in the future here is how a progression happens here the with that as far as being not only working but also investing and managing and you know using multiple talents. So as it turns out, this is something that I didn't realize until just last year, is that I have a system that I've built around having a business that is centered around a topic. So I'll give you an example. The, the book behind me there, Be a Citrix Hero. So I've been um, in the Citrix world for a lot of years, which is a technology that lets people access applications remotely and that sort of thing. And it's a basic use case. I can get into it, but I'm not going to. Um, that has been my life for you know a good long while, since about 2004. It has been a major part of my life, if not for the last 10 or so years. Pretty much it. That's all I do. Um, there came a point in my consulting career where I realized that a there was a ceiling. There's only so much I could do with my time. And while the money was good, and it is good, I mean, trust me, I've been kind of riding the coattails of years worth of work here for a while now. But the reality is that um, it only had so far I could go with it, and I found myself unfulfilled. And so I started to say, well, could I start to teach others? Could I do things to enable others to do what I do? And so I started looking into that, and that's long story short. That's actually why I moved to Franklin. Actually, is to get around a lot of people that were well known for doing that. So there was multiple different ways I could do this, and I put this into 5 different areas. Obviously, you have the consulting, and you have content, which means um, blogs, books, um, that sort of thing. Just even videos like this is content, right? And then you have community, which is a sense of people belonging and paying to be part of what you're doing and getting advice from you and that sort of thing on a long-term basis or a recurring basis. And then you have coaching, which is something that I've done. And then you also have the courses, which is a much more intensive learning environment. And mostly just, because it started with C and they were all the others ended up with C. So I just called the other one courses. It actually should be just learning in general, but yeah, courses is good for a description there. So that's 5 different ways to monetize a single skill set. 5 different ways to help people with a single skill set. And what I realized is that that is something that I can build upon. So the I call these the 5 pillars, and there could be more pillars, or there could be less pillars. It doesn't really matter. But there's those 5 pillars of the talents that I had been given. And so I worked to develop these skill sets and doing these things. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years is building out this what I call the base floor of the building. Then the next floor is taking another skill set that I've learned and adapted and grown. And that is having a what I call a methodology or a way of doing things, which means that I'm taking the things that um, I apply uh, to the masses, I guess you could say. So, as a consultant, I learned a lot about process and about how to very quickly, go through things and get a good uh, way of doing things. And so, what I did was apply that same thing. So, if you can picture the second floor of the building here, I just started building that second floor of the business. And so I started putting these pillars in, same pillars. So, I already had the consulting work, and so I've already, done that. And then there's also a manner of consulting for companies and teaching them how to do this, which is something else that I've done. And then you have, pardon me, the focus went weird there. Sorry. Um, some other things as well, as far as like teaching this, but content is something I wanted to focus in on. So last year I published the second book, Just Do This, which is about that. It's about what I've learned and just simplifying the process and kind of saving the time, saying it doesn't have to take you 20 years to learn this. You can learn this right now. Here's a book. Here you go. Congratulations. You can learn it. And so, but I'm applying those other things to that. Hopefully you're not hearing that. I'm going to hope for the best. So what we're seeing here is in my life is just building these blocks here. And I've come to realize that that is for me the path to being a 11 talent entrepreneur, 11 talent servant. And so that's for me. What I would ask you to do over the next, I guess, what is it, 6 days, is ask yourself, what kind of things could I do with the talents and abilities that have been given to me? Because we can always just do things like investing and things like that. And that kind of passive income is a good thing, but there's a reality here where that only goes so far. That's it's kind of something that's just assumed. Like if you're into real estate, you want to invest in real estate, um, great. If you want to do other things with that real estate, there might be things like that, like renting and yeah, out what you have and things like that. That there might be some abilities there. Yeah, it just really depends on what you want to do with that, and that might be something that you are uniquely called and qualified to do, and something that you could, like my friend Craig does, to further the kingdom. That could be fantastic. But I guess what I'm saying to you is that you need to figure out what kind of ways you could work that progression of being a 2 talent servant to a 4 talent servant, and then to 5 talent servant, 10 talent steward, 11 talent entrepreneur. I hope that makes some sense to you. Something that we're going to be talking about more of, but I wanted to introduce the concepts and give a venue for those that wanted to say anything more. And I think there's either been a glitch or there's just nobody watching. It could be either of those things. I'm guessing just nobody watching. It's kind of weird time of day, and who wants to listen to some random guy on the internet anyway, right? But if you are listening, this is my encouragement to you to take some time and actually say, okay, what gifts and abilities do I have that I could be using uh, in ways I don't really expect? Is there something I could teach about the things that I've learned in my life? Is there something that I could um, build that would help others based on my abilities? Are there things that I have like an excess of cash, you could say, and are there ways I could invest that so that I could have uh, more passive income and kind of build out a portfolio so that we get more of those 7, even 8 ventures of things going on. So that's my it's not an admonition, it's a, encouragement to you, to find those things, and if I can help you in any way with those things, let me know. I'd be more than happy to get, together with you and have a complimentary coaching session with you to go over what kind of things you could be doing, or if you already know the things you could be doing, same kind of offer. I would love to connect with you and help you identify what your first goal should be. Because this is the other thing I want you to hear here is that I don't think that you should go after everything at once. This is something that I have made the mistake of doing, and it was bad on a couple levels. One, it didn't really go well. In other words, my growth wasn't anything like I expected. And two, I burned myself out. And in fact, I'll be completely transparent here. That's where I'm coming to you from right now, is a place of being almost burned out. I'm kind of hanging on by a thread in some ways here. But the thing is, there are passions and abilities that are untapped yet, and that excites me. That really does say, "Wow, there's more I can do for the kingdom, and there's more I can do for my fellow created beings." And that's amazing to me that I can actually just get on a Zoom call with somebody and spend some time with them and coach them through a process and even build a relationship that's a long-term coaching relationship. But anyway, that's something I did want to give to you if you are fascinated by all this and you would like to have a complimentary coaching experience with me. Feel free to contact me, and I'm absolutely serious about this. We'll get on a Zoom call for, between an hour to 90 minutes and see what we can do about identifying the kind of things that you are passionate about and maybe you didn't know, or some ways you could um, figure out to um, do the things that again, like kind of I call it kind of seeing around corners. Like if you're trying to see around a corner, what's the best thing you can do? Get somebody else to tell you what's around the corner. You know, that's just it's kind of one of those kind of funny things about that. There's a lot of analogies we could use there, but that's what a coach does is they help you see what's on the other side there. They kind of help unlock where your potential is and kind of leap over those boundary areas with you. So that's what I'm offering. So feel free to take advantage of that if you would like to. I know that's kind of a dangerous thing to offer in a public setting like this, but my finding is that only the people that are actually serious about really getting into this are the ones that will contact me. So that's why I'm putting it out there. If something that you want to get to that next level, that's something that I've been doing for the last 2 years, and I have been loving it. In fact, so much so that I think that's going to be the cornerstone of the next step for me. Like I said, that's one of the pillars of what I do, right? Coaching. And there's a pillar that's kind of hanging out up top there of just doing more of what we call life coaching, or there's lots of different ways to say this, success coaching, that sort of thing, and whatever you want to call it. I kind of call it mindset coaching actually, because that's really what it comes down to. I'm not teaching a method. I'm really getting into your mindset and seeing how I can help. Um, so that's really what it is. So I've been enjoying that for the last few years, and that's actually kind of where my coaching has been pulled towards more than anything. So much so that I don't actually do a lot of method coaching for my other pillars. Those are they're very small pillars. They're very like they're kind of like those um, weird little support pillars you get in the middle of the room sometimes. But so anyway, that's what the offer there for you is there. So feel free to take me up on that. If you have any questions in the meantime or anything comes up, please do let me know. And I was going to attempt the kitty cam one more time, but they've left. They've gone. So no more kitty cam. So I'll figure this out one of these days. Maybe in the next live stream, we can figure that out. But I will be back with you. Um, when was I going to be back with you? I am looking at the wrong week. I will be back tomorrow at noon Central Time, live for day 5, and we'll talk more about this concept of finding those little hidden gems. And I might even try and pull up the Acres of Diamonds text and go through some of that with you, and go through that. But also, I wanted to talk through some other concepts of this 11 talent entrepreneur, and help you through that, what that would actually look like, especially if you are going to keep your day job. And so we'll go over some ways to do that. So I look forward to talking to you tomorrow as well. So for those of you that join me live, thanks for doing so. And for those of you that are watching this after the fact, thanks for doing so. Anyway, God bless you guys. And